Welcome to today's Explainer. So, we are tackling a massive, absolutely fascinating, and honestly, deeply human paradox today. We're going to look at this whole thing through two totally distinct lenses. Think of it as bringing together the deep, timeless logic of a philosopher and the tactical, structural view of a modern digital strategist. By mashing up these two mindsets, we're going to dive right into that fundamental tension between, factual reality and the comforting illusions we all naturally cling to. We'll explore the ancient architecture of deception and see exactly how it's been literally supercharged by modern technology. So let's just jump right in. Right off the bat, let me ask you a real philosophical question. Why do we actually prefer soothing lies over the cold, hard truth? Really think about that for a second. Are you, right now, psychologically invested in a falsehood simply because, it feels socially and emotionally safe? It's basically the classic premise of The Matrix, right? This idea that reality can be entirely hidden by a system that just feels totally normal. And the very first shock of waking up is realizing that what seems so obvious to you was actually completely manufactured. Because as it turns out, human nature actively prefers to lie to itself if the truth threatens our comfort. Crazy, right? But, okay, what happens when that deeply flawed human nature collides with the modern internet? Well, putting on the digital strategist hat for a second, I look at this and I see what we can call the digital blue pill. In our current attention economy, social media algorithms basically function as a real-life matrix. They create this carefully managed reality that completely exploits our natural vulnerabilities. These platforms, they aren't just showing you content. They are actively offering you a highly comforting illusion of coherence and belonging. But, and this is the kicker, this comfort comes at a super steep price, your destabilizing freedom. The algorithm actively keeps you asleep because, let's face it, a sleeping, comfortable user is a highly engaged, highly profitable user. So to truly understand how we actually get trapped in this digital matrix, let's lay out the ultimate framework. We've got two perfectly complementary ideas here. On one side, we have Aristotle's mechanics of deception. Think of this as the how. Like, how does a logical trick actually fool the human brain? And on the other side, we have Mark Twain's psychology of conformity. This is the why. Why do we actively, almost happily, welcome the trick? To actually wake up, we have to understand both the ancient logic of how we get deceived and the deeply ingrained psychology of why we just desperately want to belong. Let's start with Aristotle. The guy lived over 2,000 years ago, yet his work, specifically Sophistical Refutations, perfectly, and I mean perfectly, maps out your daily scrolling habit. He realized that logical errors, things like false causes or straw man arguments, they aren't just flaws in the argument itself. The deception actually succeeds because of the listener's state of mind. If you're rushing, or if you're highly emotional, or if you simply lack the training to just pause and analyze, these rhetorical tricks are going to work on you. Bad arguments get this totally unearned appearance of validity simply because your mind is moving way too fast to catch the logical slippage. But wait, there's a much harsher psychological truth we have to face. In his essay Corn-Pone Opinions, Mark Twain points out that humans rarely, if ever, form beliefs through independent reasoning. I know, ouch. Instead, we absorb the opinions that keep us accepted by our group. And it's not some calculated hypocrisy. It's literally an unconscious biological appetite for social approval. We are hardwired to choose social safety over factual truth. The absolute terror of being excluded from our tribe easily overrides our desire to just be factually correct. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the whole architecture of our self-deception. Aristotle hands us the mechanical map, right? How the trap is built using logically slippery arguments. And then Twain gives us the psychological motive for why we just happily walk right into that trap. We're vulnerable because, yes, an argument can be tricky, but more importantly, we actually want the conclusion that protects our identity and our sense of order. The illusion survives purely because it's socially useful to us. We lie to ourselves just to soothe our egos and stay safe inside our herds. It's a tough pill to swallow. Section 1. The algorithmic matrix, engineering the illusion. Let's get into it. Now, this is exactly where tactical engineering takes over. We're taking those ancient vulnerabilities, our rushing minds, our desperate need to belong, and we are handing them straight over to automated, data-driven systems. In today's attention economy, Aristotle's rhetorical tricks aren't accidents anymore. They are literal automated engineering. Algorithms are explicitly designed for speed, which intentionally bypasses that disciplined attention you'd need to spot a fallacy. That is exactly why your feed constantly prioritizes ad hominem attacks, false urgency, and appeals to fear. The system absolutely knows that triggering your emotions generates way more engagement than sound, boring reasoning. And by doing this, it extends what Francis Bacon called the idol of the tribe, which is just our natural human tendency to believe things simply because the people around us do. The result? Massive, impenetrable digital echo chambers.
So the really crucial point here is this. We sincerely believe we're out here thinking freely, but we're actually being entirely shaped by these engineered environments. The algorithms just constantly feed you content that perfectly fits your existing schema, your worldview. This makes it incredibly, almost dangerously easy to just excuse away any facts that feel uncomfortable or destabilizing. You adopt a belief just to fit in with your digital tribe, and then you use this endless stream of algorithmic content to justify that belief after the fact. You aren't actually reasoning, you're just defending your social territory. Which brings us right back to the absolute best cinematic metaphor for this philosophical problem, the blue pill versus the red pill. Taking the blue pill is making the choice to preserve your comfort, your coherence, and your belonging, even if it means living inside a total falsehood. On the flip side, taking the red pill means accepting uncertainty, experiencing the painful loss of your comfortable worldview, and opening yourself up to constant correction. Because truth, it's not just handed to you on a silver platter, it is something that has to be painfully chosen over the soothing lies we naturally prefer. We really have to define what reality actually means in this context. Think about it. Reality is basically whatever remains when the social pressure, the ego defense, and the comforting stories are completely stripped away. And let's be totally honest with ourselves, that is a profoundly difficult state to reach. We almost never encounter reality naked. We encounter it through our peers, our inner biases, our language. Taking the red pill is inherently costly because it requires that you face the world without that warm, comforting blanket of your tribe's illusions. Okay, so how do we actually wake up? Well, from a strategic standpoint, we need a practical framework of critical literacy to defeat this algorithmic engineering. Step 1, slow down. Seriously, defeat the haste that Aristotle warned us about. Step 2, check your assumptions. Step 3, test causality. Are you falling for a false cause just because it kind of feels right? And step 4, look for missing alternatives. You don't have to claim total, absolute certainty to win this game. You just need to become a heck of a lot harder to fool. And honestly, if you only take one practical tool away from this entire explainer, let it be this pretty brutal question inspired by Mark Twain. Whenever you feel deeply certain and emotionally fired up about a topic, I want you to pause and ask yourself, do I believe this because it is actually true, or do I believe it because it helps me belong? Wow, this is exactly how you identify when you're choosing social safety over truth. It is a deeply uncomfortable question, but I promise you, it's the ultimate mental firewall against both ancient rhetorical tricks and modern algorithmic manipulation. Let's look at how this plays out in everyday life. The deepest insight here is that taking the pill is not some dramatic, one-time cinematic event. Awakening is not omniscience. It's a daily, exhausting struggle. Every single day, you're making these tiny micro-choices between self-deception and honest inquiry. Actually, every single time you open a social media app, you're choosing between the soothing comfort of the blue pill and the rigorous, often painful self-correction of the red pill. It's an ongoing daily commitment to reject the safety of the herd in favor of the truth. So look at the beliefs you hold most tightly, the ones that really make you feel the safest. Are you willing to see that your absolute certainty might be the very illusion keeping you asleep? Truth is incredibly costly, but as we've seen today, the ultimate price of the comforting lie is your freedom. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning, keep slowing down, and we'll see you in the next explainer.